Hi, friends. Welcome to the January 2024 edition of Reset and Restore. So, for today's class, this is going to be a low and slow class. If you are the kind of person who tends to get cold or are cold today, I recommend having a couple of extra layers like a sweater and maybe some socks. We will not need the grippy nature of our yoga mats today during our practice to contact our bare feet. So, I am going to be practicing with and cueing with a blanket, which I'm currently sitting on to lift my hips up. And I've also got two blocks here. So if you'd like to grab any of those or any other props to support your practice today, I invite you to just take a moment to do that. And as soon as you're ready, let's get started on our backs. So finding yourself in a comfortable reclined position, you might like to bend the knees, plant the feet flat on the floor, walk those feet out to the edges of the mat and let the knees fall inward for fallen bridge. This can be nice on the low back. Another option is to bring soles of the feet together and let the knees fall apart. You can always prop with some blocks or blankets here underneath the knees for a supported version of this posture. And then another wonderful option is just legs extended on the mat. And again, you can always place a blanket or some blocks underneath the knees to release any pressure on the low back in this position. So wherever you are, whatever is working for you today, let's take a couple of moments to settle into our bodies here. Allowing the eyes to gently close, allowing the hands to rest comfortably, perhaps on the body, perhaps on the mat beside you. And let's begin by taking a nice deep breath in. But first, we'll exhale completely. And now taking a slow, deep breath in, filling the lungs with fresh oxygen, allowing the belly to expand before exhaling. Once again, inhaling deeply. And as you let this breath go, is it possible to soften, relax onto your mat just a little bit? And once more, let's breathe deeply in. Biggest breath you've taken all day. And slowly let that breath go, letting something go with it. And now let's allow our breath to return to its natural rhythm and begin to feel the weight of the body heavy on the mat here, sensing into that groundedness of the body on the mat, body connecting with mat, as if the body was sinking into the mat, melting into the mat here. Feeling the points of contact between your body and the mat as you experience being fully supported right here just for this moment. Letting it go, letting the earth hold you up. And now let's begin to get a little bit of movement in the pelvis. So if your feet are not already planted flat on the mat, let's bring feet to the mat. Knees bent up towards the ceiling. Feet should be about hip width apart, give or take, to your comfort and preference. And from here, if we can think about the pelvis on the floor as being a clock with 12 o'clock directly ahead of us, and 6 o'clock up with our head, so 12 o'clock at the feet, 6 o'clock at the head, we'll begin to just take some gentle rocks back and forth between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock here. Just taking a few rocks back and forth, gentle. This is a small movement. And now let's go from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock, so side to side. Again, just getting a little bit of gentle motion here in the pelvis, loosening up, mobilizing the sacroiliac joint, and releasing a tiny bit of tension from our low backs. And then we'll come back to center. And from here, let's begin to make a circle around the outside of the clock. Just pick one direction and focus on trying to contact each number on the clock with the mat. Of course, there might be parts of the body that don't quite make contact, and that's totally fine. It's simply the intention to find a full range of motion here with the pelvis, the sacroiliac joint. And after your next circle in one direction, let's pause and then begin to move in the other direction. Finding this mobility, this freedom in the low spine. Nice. And we'll come to rest here and just take a moment to feel our bodies heavy on the mat. Reconnecting with the breath here. And now let's stretch our legs long on the mat, stretch our arms long above us, and then walk our feet over to one side. I'm going to go to the left. You might like to hook the opposite foot on top there for a little bit of extra stretch. So now we're feeling a little bit of opening through the outside of that hip on the opposite side. And then bringing the arms toward the same side as the feet. So we're making a little bit of a crescent moon here for our banana pose. Once you've reached the level of extension that feels good for your body, let's really let go and let the body rest here in this posture. Breathing into sensation, breathing into that side body. You might feel it in those sticky intercostal muscles that connect the ribs, or maybe in the outer part of the hip. Noticing the sensations in your body here as you breathe into the posture. And we'll come through center and stretch long on the mat before walking feet over to the opposite side, picking the side you have not already done, maybe hooking that top foot, and then reaching the arms over to the same side. So now we're finding our banana shape on side number 2. Noticing how the first side is different maybe from the second side. Noticing how the body is feeling in this shape, in this posture. Breathing into that sensation and really allowing the body to settle in on the mat here for a moment as we open up through the side body. Connecting with that breath. Returning to the breath. And then we'll come back through center and reach the arms and the legs long on the mat again. And from here, let's gently draw the knees in toward the chest and just take a few rocks back and forth. Nice. All right, let's drop those feet back down to the mat. Let's now extend left leg long on the mat, leaving that right leg bent. And from here, let's bring the left hand to the outside of the right knee and gently draw that knee across the body for a reclined twist. If you would like to prop the knee up here, this is a really nice place to have a few props. And then we'll extend the opposite arm, the right arm, long beside us, And if it feels nice on the neck, let's turn and look at that extended arm. I really like to prop this posture because it allows me to really relax into it rather than cranking and holding my spine into this position. Continuing to connect with that breath, connecting with the sensations in the body, noticing how you're feeling in this orientation. Keeping our breath slow and steady as we practice this low and slow class. Feeling the weight of the body on the floor, that groundedness here. And as we experience these last few breaths in this position, noticing whether it's possible to turn into the twist just a little bit more, maybe with the knee, maybe with the neck. Nice. And we'll release that, bringing the right knee back across the body, planting on the floor. And we'll switch it out, planting left foot now on the floor, reaching right leg long on the mat. If you used props on the first side, I recommend propping on the second side as well. And then bringing the right hand to the outside of the left knee and drawing that knee across the body. Extending the opposite arm long on the mat. Adjusting any of your props that require adjustment as you settle into the posture. And if it feels good on the neck, let's turn and look at that extended arm toward the fingertips as we reconnect with the breath, reconnect with the body. Noticing how this second side is different from the first side. Noticing whether there are any areas that feel tight or tense in this posture and in every posture. Giving ourselves the opportunity to explore the body and meet it right where it is today. Feeling the heaviness of the body as you relax into this posture. And taking a nice deep breath in. And let's let that breath go and come back to the center. Legs long on the mat. And just take a moment here, connecting with the body, connecting with the breath, noticing how you're feeling. Feeling that body heavy on the earth. And from here, we'll once again bend our knees and plant our feet flat on the floor. Let's bring now the right ankle in front of the left knee, flexing that right foot. You might like to press the right knee away from you as we find this figure 4 position, opening up through the outer hip. Now this might be plenty of sensation for you. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper into that sensation, you can draw the left knee towards your chest, grasping behind the hamstring or below the knee on the shin. You might like to find a little bit of motion here, rocking back and forth, giving yourself a little bit of a massage in that outer hip and the hip socket. Really connecting with the breath here and feeling that bodily sensation. And if at any time the sensation becomes intense or unpleasant, please feel most welcome to move back to that slightly easeful version of the posture. Just taking a moment here to open up some of those sticky parts of the body, awakening and freeing the spine a little bit before moving into our weekend. Taking a nice deep breath in and letting it go. And gently letting this posture go, dropping foot to the floor if it's not already there. Unwinding those legs, maybe dropping knees from one side to the other a couple of times in each direction. And we'll take that on the second side. So right foot firmly planted on the floor, left ankle comes in front of the right knee with that left foot flexed, letting the left knee, fall open. You might like to press that knee open. If you'd like some deeper sensation, you can draw that entire shape in towards you, reaching outside of the leg with the right arm and in between that little figure 4 with the left arm, grasping behind the hamstring or below the knee, and drawing the whole shape in towards you. You might like to, again, rock a little bit from side to side, giving yourself a little massage for the joint, the muscles, the fascia, and then settling into the posture. Taking a moment here, reconnecting with the breath, noticing how the second side might be different from the first side. Keeping that connection with the breath. Taking a nice deep breath in and letting it go. Dropping that right foot to the floor, unwinding the legs. Again, if you'd like to windshield wipe those knees from side to side a couple of times, please feel free, or any other form of movement that might feel good in your body right now. And from here, we're going to turn onto our bellies. So making your way onto your stomach, whichever way that feels good for you. So from here, we'll bring hands directly below the shoulders, bringing them in tight, bringing the elbows in tight. And then slide the hands and elbows forward until hands and elbows are flat on the mat, spreading those fingers wide. And now the elbows should be just below the shoulders. From here, we'll wiggle our feet back just a little bit so that we don't feel quite so scrunched in that low back. Legs can be hip width apart or even a little wider, depending on what feels good for you. And from here, let's roll our shoulders down and back as we allow our chest to open forward, keeping the chin neutral, so we don't want to crank our head to look up, but thinking about really opening the heart forward in our Sphinx posture. Finding that opening through the front body here, opening through the belly, opening through the heart. You might even wiggle the hips back and forth just a little bit. Sometimes that can feel nice on the low back in a posture like this. As we're flexing the spine. And then settling into the posture for just a moment here. Connecting with the breath. Feeling the sensations in the body, the dance of aliveness in the hands and feet, the light compression in the low spine, the opening in the front body. Breathing deeply in and letting it go. And now let's release this. Stack one hand on top of the other. Bring forehead to the hands. Bending the knees and just letting the feet fall from side to side a couple of times. Continuing to open up through that low back. Nice. And from here, we'll press up into tabletop, all fours, bringing the hands beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips. And let's take that right arm, thread it behind the left wrist, reaching out toward the side of the mat as we bring the shoulder and the temple to or towards the mat. Now, if the mat feels very far away, or you have really stiff shoulders, or you're just not feeling it today, this is a really great place to bring a blanket beneath the shoulder to lift the floor up to you and make this a little bit of a more comfortable position. So finding your expression, your version of the posture as we move into our thread the needle. And then, if it feels good, walking that left arm out in front. And now leaning over to the right a little bit to find a little extra opening in that shoulder blade, upper back. Reconnecting with the breath. Settling in here for a moment. Staying connected with the breath, with the body, with your internal world here. And now let's bring that left hand back beneath the shoulder and come back to tabletop for just a moment, noticing how the two sides feel, reconnecting with the breath. And now let's move to the second side, replacing your prop if you're using one. Right hand is underneath the right shoulder, and then we'll take that left hand and slide it behind the right wrist, bringing shoulder, bringing temple to or toward the mat, or to your blanket or other prop if that's what's working for you today. So wherever you are, settling into that posture. And then perhaps extending the right arm long towards the front of the mat, and then leaning slightly over to the left, really opening up through that sticky shoulder blade, beneath the shoulder blade, that upper back, the thoracic spine. Really connecting here with the breath. Feeling the weight of the body on the earth. Noticing how this side is different from the first side. Enjoying this pause. And now, bringing the right hand beneath the right shoulder, pressing up to tabletop. And now let's bring our knees quite wide, maybe as wide as the mat. And we're going to move into child's pose. So, a couple of propping options. You might bring a couple of blocks between the feet so that your seat can rest. You might bring a blanket below your chest or belly to support you here. If you need more support behind you, you could always put the blanket on your heels or on top of blocks. So finding the version of a posture that feels comfortable for you. Extending arms long in front and then letting your arms relax completely, heavy on the mat. Forehead presses into the mat. You might take a couple of gentle wiggles side to side here. And then settle in. Reconnecting with that breath. Feeling the weight of the body here on the mat. Letting the body be heavy, letting the breath be slow and deep. Coming in contact with the breath, with our bodies, helping ourselves to regulate and re-regulate the nervous system. Taking a nice deep breath in and letting it go. And beginning to press up, walking back and out of our child's pose. And from here, we'll return to our backs for our final rest. Moving any props out of your way. And finding your way back onto the back. Reclining, stretching the legs out long. Letting the arms rest beside you or in contact with the body. Once again, allowing the eyes to close. Reconnecting with the breath here. Noticing how your body is feeling now after this short and sweet, low and slow, yoga class, after coming into contact with your body, your breath, yourself in this way, relaxing the brow, relaxing the jaw, letting the belly soften, letting the glutes soften, softening through the hands and feet. Heavy on the mat here for just a moment more. And I encourage you to remain here in your final rest as long as feels good for you. Please give yourself this time. Enjoy this transition and liminal space between the practice and the rest of your world, the rest of your life. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. As always, it is my absolute pleasure to be here practicing with you. I'm wishing you all the best, a wonderful weekend. Take good care and be of service as we celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday. Sending you so much love. Be well.